At 92, Willie Nelson has finally broken his silence about John Denver, revealing a truth fans never expected to hear. But before we dive into the revelation, we must go back to where it all began. Born during the unforgiving grip of the Great Depression, Willie Hugh Nelson came into the world on April 29, 1933, in Abbott, Texas. Abandoned by both parents as they chased survival, Willie was raised by his grandparents, two humble souls who found comfort in music during hard times. It was in that quiet, dusty town that a 6-year-old Willie first picked up a guitar, not knowing it would become his salvation. What began as a childhood escape would one day turn into a legacy, and a deep, complex bond with fellow artist John Denver that remained unspoken for decades, until now. By the age of 7, Willie Nelson had already written his first song, a raw glimpse of the talent that would later shape American music. Just 2 years later, he was performing in dusty dance halls and rowdy honky-tonks alongside his sister Bobby, whose piano playing became the steady heartbeat of their lifelong musical bond. But the road to fame was anything but smooth. In his early adulthood, Willie juggled countless odd jobs: disc jockey, vacuum cleaner salesman, farmer, even Bible book peddler, all while clinging to his dream of making it big in the cutthroat world of country music. The 1950s were a decade of grit and rejection. He moved restlessly from Fort Worth to Portland to Nashville, never staying long, never giving up. His offbeat vocal style and behind-the-beat phrasing baffled the Nashville establishment. But what they couldn't ignore was his gift for storytelling. When Patsy Cline turned his song Crazy into a timeless hit, the industry finally took notice. With Nightlife and Funny How Time Slips Away, Nelson's poetic genius earned him a place among the greats, not just as a singer, but as one of country music's most profound lyricists. The 1970s ignited Willie Nelson's transformation from struggling songwriter to unstoppable legend. Tired of Nashville's polished, formulaic sound and the industry's creative stranglehold, Willie packed up and returned to Texas, where he helped ignite a musical rebellion. There, he became a founding father of the outlaw country movement, a raw, defiant response to the glittery commercialism that had overtaken mainstream country. He ditched the studio gloss and embraced a stripped-down, soul-bearing style that spoke directly to everyday people. His groundbreaking albums, Shotgun Willie, 1973, Red-Headed Stranger, 1975, and Stardust, 1978, did more than just top charts, they shattered expectations. Red-Headed Stranger, anchored by the hauntingly beautiful, Blue Eyes Crying in the Rain, proved that vulnerability, grit, and unfiltered storytelling could outsell flashy production. With each release, Willie not only redefined country music, he redefined what it meant to be an American icon. Willie Nelson gained notoriety for his unique personality in addition to his music. His bandana, weathered visage, long braided hair, and ubiquitous guitar, Trigger, all came to represent his style and grit. It wasn't only the picture, though. He was the one who did it. Willie Nelson personified the free-spirited, compassionate rebel who was not hesitant to voice his opinions on contentious topics. He has long been an ardent supporter of environmental sustainability, animal welfare, legalizing marijuana, and farmers' rights. He and Neil Young and John Mellenchamp co-founded Farm Aid in 1985, a charity concert that still raises millions of dollars for American farmers in need. He has a remarkable spirit of cooperation. Willie Nelson collaborated with a staggering array of musicians over the years, including Ray Charles, Dolly Parton, Sheryl Crow, Snoop Dogg, Norah Jones, Juan Jennings, Merle Haggard, and Johnny Cash. His supergroup, the Highwaymen, which included Chris Christopherson, Cash, and Jennings, became a symbol of musical brilliance and friendship. His worldwide popularity is demonstrated by his ability to cross genre barriers while retaining his essential individuality. Nelson persevered in the face of personal adversity, such as financial difficulties, failed marriages, and legal disputes with the IRS. He never stopped touring, recording, or standing up for his convictions. With an unwavering work ethic that transcends age, he continued to perform live, write memoirs, and produce new songs far into his 80s and 90s. Both his voice and his passionate, philosophic attitude to life and music are readily recognized despite their wear and tear. Willie Nelson is more than just a well-known country music artist. He is a poet, a storyteller, a national treasure, and a representation of tenacity. He has made enormous contributions to society and music. With a discography that includes more than 100 albums and a legacy that has impacted innumerable musicians, he has received every distinction imaginable, including admission into the Country Music Hall of Fame, Grammy Awards, and Kennedy Center honors. Above all, he has gained the unwavering affection and admiration of supporters everywhere. Willie Nelson has exceeded expectations and pushed the limits of what it means to be a performing musician at an advanced age, even after approaching 80. His enthusiasm, inventiveness, and love of music have stayed astonishingly robust, inspiring both fans and upcoming generations of musicians. Nelson's highly regarded studio album Band of Brothers was published in 2014, soon before his 81st birthday. Due to his advanced age as well as the fact that it was his first album with primarily brand new, original songs written by Nelson himself in a number of years, this record was a key turning point in his career. The album was praised for its unvarnished honesty and thoughtful maturity, showcasing a fusion of traditional country sounds with his unique lyrical depth and narrative. As a return to form for the iconic singer-songwriter, it struck a deep chord with both reviewers and devoted fans. His continuous relevance and appeal in the ever-evolving country music industry was further cemented when Band of Brothers made its debut at the top of the Billboard Top Country Albums chart. The popularity of the record demonstrated that Nelson's skill and ability to engage audiences with his distinctive voice and soulful guitar playing had not diminished with age. Willie Nelson has had a lasting impact on the film and television industries in addition to music. He has established a reputation as a charming and organic on-screen persona by moving fluidly between music studios and movie sets throughout the years. He has played a wide range of movie parts that highlight his distinct charm and wit in addition to his musical legacy. He co-starred with Jane Fonda and Robert Redford in the 1979 movie The Electric Horseman, which is one of his most memorable roles. Nelson further combined his musical and cinematic skills by contributing to the film's soundtrack and playing a supporting part that combined passion and humor. Nelson enchanted viewers with a loving grandfatherly role in the 1996 family movie Starlight, showcasing his kind disposition and making him a cherished character that appealed to all ages. He was also ideally suited for parts in comedies and light-hearted movies because of his humorous timing and easygoing demeanor. Nelson brought his characteristic wit and rustic Texas persona to the big screen when he played Uncle Jesse in the 2005 film adaptation of the beloved television series, The Dukes of Hazzard. He also left a lasting impression. Appearance in the 2007 romance comedy Blonde Ambition, starring Jessica Simpson, in which he portrayed a character that gave the narrative realism and a touch of the South. In the 2016 satirical fashion comedy Zoolander 2, he made a cameo appearance that delighted fans and highlighted his ongoing cultural significance, further demonstrating his ability to make fun of himself. These movie parts have contributed to Willie Nelson's status as a revered pop culture hero with a unique appeal to all age groups, in addition to being a music legend. Few can match his legacy of persistent passion, tenacity, and artistic energy, which is demonstrated by his ongoing involvement in the music and film industries far into his 80s. The famous American country music pioneer Willie Nelson has had a very colorful and adventurous personal life, especially when it comes to his relationships and family. His career has lasted for more than 60 years. He has been married 4 times over the years. Each marriage symbolized a distinct period of his life and mirrored the struggles, changes, and shifting viewpoints that mirrored his musical development. In 1952, he married Martha Matthews for the first time. Even though it lasted for 10 years, this union was turbulent. In his autobiographies, Nelson has been open about the relationship's turbulent and occasionally violent character, which was exacerbated by his drinking and the unpredictability of his early musical career. Willie Billy Hugh Nelson Jr., Susie, and Lana were the 3 children that Willie and Martha had together. Billy, their son, tragically committed suicide in 1991. A devastating event in Willie's life that had a lasting impact on him and that he has since painfully and candidly thought back on. In 1963, Willie married vocalist Shirley Collie after his first marriage ended. It started out as a creative collaboration between them. In the early 1960s, Shirley, a country singer herself, worked with Nelson on songs. But when Shirley learned that Willie had surreptitiously fathered a kid with Connie Kupka while they were married, the marriage terminated in 1971. Their union ended as a result of this disclosure, which also hinted to his subsequent connection. Soon after, Willie married his third wife, Connie Kupka, who was the mother of his daughter, Paula Carlin Nelson. Amy Lee Nelson, their second daughter, was born after their 1971 marriage. During some of Nelson's most turbulent years in the music business, as well as his conflicts with the IRS and drug-related problems, Connie supported him. The marriage finally ended in 1988, despite their shared past and the birth of 2 kids. Later that year, Willie Nelson wed Annie D'Angelo, a makeup artist he had met while working on Stagecoach, a 1986 film in which he co-starred with Johnny Cash and Chris Christopherson. Annie provided Willie's frequently tumultuous surroundings with equilibrium and serenity. She has frequently been characterized as a stabilizing influence in his life, assisting him in changing to a better way of living that includes cutting back on meat and alcohol. They have 2 sons together. Micah Nelson, an independent musician and artist renowned for his eclectic and experimental approach, and Lucas Autry Nelson, who has carried on his father's musical legacy and made a name for himself as the frontman of Lucas Nelson and Promise of the Real. Willie and Annie have been together for more than 30 years, which is his longest marriage and represents a close, long-lasting friendship that has only gotten stronger over time. Willie and Annie moved to the Hawaiian island of Maui in recent years, where they live in relative isolation amid their loved ones, close friends, and lush tropical surroundings. Their house is a tranquil haven from the pressures of touring and stardom. It represents the peace he has discovered in his older years and serves as more than just a place to rest. His wife is actually Annie D'Angelo, despite the fact that some publications may sometimes list her name as Marie. The two have a deep and enduring relationship based on love and respect for one another. Throughout these partnerships, Willie Nelson has fathered 7 children in total, each of whom represents a distinct facet of his life's fabric. Nelson has stayed incredibly loyal to his family in spite of the highs and lows, the personal losses, and the difficult lessons learned. He frequently draws inspiration for his music from them. Many of his family members have carried on his tradition of creativity and artistic expression, and his children in particular have played significant roles in both his personal and professional lives. Legendary country music artist Willie Nelson, who is already well into his 90s, has led a life as varied and nuanced as the American terrain he frequently sings about. Over the course of his 7-decade career, Nelson has encountered some of the most significant personalities in music history, from gospel and blues to outlaw country. However, among the many aliases that have adorned his life narrative, Nelson has seldom made public remarks concerning the identity of fellow singer, songwriter, and adored American folk icon John Denver, a name that fans have long conjectured about. Now, in a rare and heartfelt moment of vulnerability and candor, Willie Nelson, at 92 years antique, has ultimately unfolded about his reminiscences, impressions, and lasting mind at the late Denver, imparting a touching and revealing take a look at a friendship the public by no means fully noticed. For years, many lovers wondered how Nelson honestly felt approximately Denver. The two artists occupied special but intersecting corners of American song. Denver, together with his clear voice and nature-driven ballads, was seen as a symbol of clean-cut, heartfelt optimism within the 70s, whilst Nelson, braided, unfiltered, and deeply rooted within the rougher textures of outlaw U.S., represented a greater rebellious spirit. Despite the one's surface contrasts, Willie now well-known shows that he held a deep admiration for John Denver's musical sincerity, lyrical craftsmanship, and unwavering commitment to environmental reasons. Nelson describes Denver as a soul that sang from the mountains and supposed every word of it. Willie goes on to percentage that even though they failed to excursion collectively or collaborate as often as some might assume, there has been continually a mutual respect and kinship between them. They often crossed paths at charity concerts and televised specials, specifically those in the overdue 70s and early 1980s when both men have been advocating for reasons that resonated with them. Denver for conservation and flora and fauna, and Nelson for own family farmers and rural communities. Willie now exhibits that behind the scenes at one of those activities, the two had an in-intensity verbal exchange about the pressures of repute and staying genuine in a global of enterprise expectations. John told me he simply wanted to write what he felt and sing it genuinely regardless of what Big Apple or La thought. Nelson remembers that hit me deep. I reputable that. Nelson also confesses that he was deeply stricken by Denver's tragic loss of life in 1997 when the singer perished in an aircraft crash off the coast of California. At the time, Willie remained publicly silent. But in personal, he admits he mourned the loss of one among the United States' gentlest voices. Now reflecting at the a long time due to the fact, he stalks that Denver's music still moves him, particularly songs like Take Me Home, United States Roads, and Sunshine on My Shoulders. Willie says, you can experience the affection in those songs. They have been by no means simply hits. They were presents. In his feedback, Nelson also touches on what he sees as Denver's misunderstood legacy. He notes that while John changed into from time to time brushed off by critics for being too tender or sentimental, the fact changed into that Denver's electricity lay in his sincerity and courage to stay genuine to his coronary heart. On this commercial enterprise, humans try and mildew you into something you're not. John by no means let that show up. Willie says that takes guts. Quiet guts. Willie Nelson, who has spent his very own life challenging musical norms and standing firm for the reasons he believes in, perhaps sees a bit of himself in Denver's adventure. He reflects that had Denver lived longer, they may have in the end recorded together, possibly a mild duet, mixing their awesome voices in tribute to the land they both cherished. We were both U.S. Boys at heart, Nelson says with a wistful smile. Different roads perhaps, but the equal horizon. In Speaking Up Now, Willie Not Simplest will pay tribute to a lost friend, but also gives a lesson in appreciation and reconciliation. At 92, with a long lifestyles of stories behind him, he reminds us that honoring the individuals who crossed our course, whether for a moment or a lifetime, is part of what offers meaning to the tune and the person in the back of it. And so with the sun putting slowly on an excellent profession, Willie Nelson's reflections on John Denver experience like a track in themselves, tender, raw, and full of reality. A song that became possibly a long time within the making, however turned into continually waiting to be sung. He noticed.